Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something a bit different. Not just a company history, but really the story of one person's life in agricultural tech.
That's right. We're focusing on Lorenz Reiger. He's a senior product manager, system architect at AGCO now.
But his story goes way back, deep into Massey Ferguson's world. We're tracing how one individual really pushed farming tech forward from, the workshop floor right up to wireless updates.
Yeah, our mission here is to use the sources, the information he shared, to kind of map out that journey. How he didn't just use high-tech stuff, he actually pioneered it.
He really bridged those worlds, the grease and mechanics of the workshop and the digital age for Massey Ferguson.
Exactly.
And the beginning of the story, it's almost too perfect. His connection with MF, it literally started the week he was born.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, his parents had just gotten the distribution rights for Massey Ferguson, and the very first tractor, the classic MF-35, actually arrived in their village the same week Lorenz was born.
Wow. Talk about deep roots. You can't make that up.
Right. It sets this amazing foundation.
It really does. But, those roots, they went even deeper than just being the distributor's son. If we look at his early life, that foundational period, it shows this immediate, almost hands-on connection to the work itself.
Okay, so let's dig into that. How deep did it go? We know he grew up around his father's workshop.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a great little anecdote about his very short time in nursery school.
Right. Get this. The sources say after just one day at nursery school, he basically, he staged a boycott. He just wanted to be back in the workshop.
Huh. So he succeeded.
Apparently so. He went straight back.
Yeah.
And the story goes he spent pretty much every free moment there, all through school, helping out, fixing things.
Oh, that's some serious dedication. He did eventually get a mechanical engineering degree, though.
He did, yes. But then, interestingly, he went right back home. He ran that family workshop for over 25 years.
25 years running the shop.
Yeah, and that quarter century, I think that's absolutely crucial. It's not just a nice biographical detail. It really explains why he was so effective later on, when he started pushing these pretty radical digital ideas.
Because he wasn't just some engineer in an office somewhere.
Exactly. He was the guy with the grease under his fingernails.
Yeah.
He'd heard every single problem, every request, every farmer's need. For decades, he had that ground-level understanding.
So that gave him credibility. When he starts talking about things like, say, remote diagnostics later, people listened.
Precisely. They knew he understood the real-world problems. He wasn't just designing something theoretically cool. He was designing something useful, something farmers actually needed, because he'd been there.
Okay, so that mechanical foundation, that hands-on experience was absolutely key.
Hey, absolutely.
But he didn't stay just fixing things. He moved into innovation pretty quickly. Let's shift to that next phase, section 2, starting around 1989. This is where he really starts developing the future, right? Precision agriculture.
Yeah, he saw the workshop as maybe the starting point, not the end game. And the sources show he really took the initiative here. He actually bought an MF-32 combine harvester himself.
Oh, interesting. For farming?
No, not for commercial use. Specifically to experiment with GPS and yield mapping. It was purely for R&D, for field trials. That shows a real personal drive, investing his own resources to figure this stuff out.
Definitely. And this wasn't just him tinkering alone, right? It grew into something bigger, a collaborative project.
It did, and quite quickly.
Yeah.
This led to the virtual land consolidation project. This was a big deal, launched right there with farmers in his own community.
Virtual land consolidation.
Yeah.
What exactly was that?
Well, the idea was pretty revolutionary for, 1989. Getting local farmers to essentially pool their land management, to work together using shared advanced tech, GPS-equipped Massey Ferguson machines specifically.
Wow. That sounds challenging. Logistically and maybe socially, too, getting farmers to agree to that back then.
Oh, absolutely. Think about a new, probably expensive GPS technology, sharing data, coordinating work. It must have taken immense trust. And it received government subsidies, too, from the Ministry for Rural Areas, which shows its significance.
So it worked.
It did. The outcome was 12 local farmers cultivating their land together using these MF machines with GPS. And what's really telling is the longevity.
Right, you mentioned that.
Yeah, when the source material we have was written, that project was celebrating its 25th anniversary.
25 years. So this wasn't just some short-lived tech demo.
Not at all. It was a sustainable, long-term commitment. It showed that tech-enabled shared agriculture could actually work, driven from the community level thanks to his groundwork.
That's incredible. A quarter century of collaboration starting from a local workshop experiment.
Hmm.
Okay, so now, moving to section 3. This is where things get maybe even more interesting. He pulls inspiration from a totally different field.
Yeah, this is a great part of the story, Formula One racing.
Formula One, how does that connect to tractors?
Telemetry. In 1999, Riger apparently went to an F1 race. And what really caught his attention wasn't just the speed, it was the data. The way teams could remotely monitor everything happening in the car instantly.
Ah, okay. The remote diagnostics, seeing engine performance, temperatures, all that, beamed back to the pit crew.
Exactly. And Riger had this insight. Why couldn't we do that for tractors?
It makes sense. If you think about it, diagnosing a potential problem before a breakdown during harvest season, that's critical for a farmer. Maybe even more critical than shaving milliseconds off a lap time.
Arguably, yes. Downtime during a narrow harvest window can be catastrophic. So he saw telemetry as a way to potentially predict failures, optimize fuel, maybe even help with settings remotely, prevent lost workdays.
So he sees this in F1 in '99. Did it take long to adapt the idea?
Amazingly fast. The pace was incredible. That same year, 1999, he presented a working telemetry system for MF tractors at AgriTechnica.
AgriTech, that's the huge agricultural machinery show in Germany, right?
The biggest in the world, basically. And this wasn't just a concept, it was a working system. And it even won him a DLG silver medal.
DLG being the German Agricultural Society, so that's serious validation from the industry itself.
Huge validation. It really marked his shift from, respected mechanic to recognized industry innovator.
But that wasn't even the biggest leap, was it?
No. The truly revolutionary step came just 2 years later, in 2001. They'd expanded the system, worked on it more, and at the SEMA show in Paris.
Another big agricultural show.
Right. They demonstrated OTA, flash over-the-air updates, on an MF tractor.
OTA wireless software updates. In 2001. Today, our phones update overnight, my car gets updates. But 2001 for a tractor, that feels incredibly early.
It was incredibly early. The source material explicitly calls it an absolute novelty at the time. And think about the challenge. Getting a stable wireless connection, reliably transmitting complex software updates to a huge machine, probably out in a field with spotty coverage. In 2001, that was a massive engineering achievement.
Yeah, that's not like updating your desktop computer plugged into the wall. This is mission-critical stuff for the farmer's livelihood being pushed wirelessly.
Absolutely. It really highlights how sometimes the agricultural sector, driven by these very practical needs and people like Riger, was actually ahead of the curve on some of this cutting-edge digital tech compared to, say, the consumer market.
Necessity driving invention.
Couldn't put it better.
Yeah.
The high cost of failure in farming really forced these kinds of radical solutions.
So this whole trajectory from the workshop to GPS collaboration to pioneering telemetry and OTA, it eventually led to a big career change for him, right? Section 4, you mentioned he called it a lifelong dream.
That's right. The specific date is even mentioned, January 3rd, 2008. He gets a call. It's from Ed Swenson at AGCO ATS.
ATS being Advanced Technology Solutions, AGCO's tech division.
Correct. And they asked him to join AGCO to come work for the parent company.
Wow. From running the local dealership workshop to being recruited by the global corporation, that's quite the leap.
It really is. Yeah. And apparently he said yes immediately. No hesitation. He saw it as the chance to really shape the future of the brand he'd grown up with, quite literally.
And it seems like his success there came from not leaving his roots behind, right? Bringing that practical hands-on knowledge into the corporate structure.
Exactly. His understanding was never just theoretical. It was always grounded in the reality of the workshop, the farm, the user. That's what made his contribution so valuable, designing these complex global diagnostic systems.
And did this move change his perspective on the community aspect, the farmers and dealers?
If anything, it seems to have broadened it. He talks about Massey Ferguson not just as a brand, but as a living community.
The living community.
Yeah, meaning everyone involved, the farmers using the machines, the dealers supporting them, the employees designing and building them. He sees them all as working together, solving problems, and collectively building the future of agriculture. It's a very collaborative vision.
That's a great way to put it. And that idea of community, it connects his whole story right up to the present day, doesn't it?
It does. He mentions a current initiative, encouraging people within that MF community to share their real stories, their authentic pictures, using the hashtag #MSaSalafis.
Ah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's more than just social media. There's a chance for those photos, those real stories, to be featured at the Massey Ferguson booth at AgriTechnica 2025. It's about connecting the people back to the technology and the brand history.
Putting faces to the machines and the software, that really brings his journey full circle, doesn't it? From his birth, coinciding with the first MF-35 in the village,
To boycotting nursery school for the workshop,
pioneering GPS projects with local farmers,
getting inspired by F1 for telemetry,
delivering OTA updates years ahead of many others.
and finally, shaping global diagnostics while championing that living community. It's quite a story.
It really is.
And I think Reger's career offers a really powerful lesson about innovation, actually. It shows that having that deep, practical, hands-on understanding of the physical world, of the machines themselves gained over decades, in his case, isn't opposed to high technology. It's actually essential for developing the really effective, really useful digital solutions, even something as abstract as wireless updates.
He's the bridge between the wrench and the Wi-Fi signal on the farm.
Perfectly put, he embodies that connection.
So we saw how a local mechanic, inspired by something completely different like Formula One, ended up creating an industry standard in agriculture, getting there even before a lot of consumer tech.
Yeah.
This deep dive really shows agricultural machinery was, perhaps quietly, leading the way with tech like OTA years before it became mainstream elsewhere. And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? It brings up a question for you listening today. What industry out there right now, maybe one you don't normally associate with cutting-edge tech, something heavy, maybe logistical, something with deep physical roots like farming, what industry is quietly developing the next absolute novelty, the thing that might define tomorrow's standards, maybe even tomorrow's wireless world?
That's a fascinating question. Because the real breakthroughs, they often come from where the real work gets done, where the need is most acute.
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We hope this look at Lorenz Reger's journey has given you some interesting insights into innovation, community, and the surprising places the future might be taking shape.